Yeah, I'm Jeremy. I play guitar in Monster Truck.
I'm John. I play bass and sing.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. How's the tour been going so far?
It's been pretty good. It's a lot of border crossings, which make for a nerve-wracking experience. But yeah, the shows have been fun, and you know the Buck Cherry guys treat us real good, and we've got 2 shows to go.
Nice. So, what is up next for you guys when this wraps up? I see a lot of festival appearances for you guys this summer.
Yeah, doing a lot of festivals. We're going to Europe. We got a couple weeks off, so it should be nice to chill at home, and then we go to Europe for a month. And then we're back in the States for about a month and a half, 2 months.
You know, 2 different tours, doing one with Alter Bridge for a couple weeks, and then another one with Alice in Chains for a couple weeks.
Nice, nice. So I see you guys are on the bill for Rock at the Range this year. Are you guys excited about that one? It's always my favorite one.
Yeah, we don't know enough about it to really get that excited. Yeah, everyone keeps telling us about it, so
Yeah.
that alone is giving us a good impression. But you know, we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. You know, experience it for ourselves.
Absolutely. So, I mean, how happy are you guys with the continued feedback that the album's been having? I mean, I know it's been out for a little while now.
It's been real great in Canada. We're still, kind of trying to get things going in the United States. Things are kind of real difficult over here as far as the fractured landscape of American radio. It's kind of like a real ambiguous landscape of different rock stations, 4 different formats, and each format seemingly similar to the next, but still playing different songs, and it makes it kind of difficult for us to figure out which way to kind of attack from, and we just keep trying to keep playing shows and getting on the right tours, and which we've had a lot of luck with in that regard, and yeah, just
But radio doesn't really dictate everything. I mean, Slayer was never on the radio, and they sell at arenas.
Right.
So it's more important, I think, for us to gain fans in these markets and get these shows. I mean, radio helps with that, but it's really you don't really start getting into a band until you see them live. You're not gonna hear a band on the radio. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to hear a band on the radio and then just go blindly to see them play. I mean, it's important that these bands are taking us on tour and putting us in front of audiences that we'd be playing to 10 people in Philadelphia if it wasn't for Buck Cherry. You know what I mean?
I mean, do you feel that there's more pressure now on bands to stay on the road longer because of that?
I think if you want to make money, I think if you want to make a living at playing music, you have to be on the road a lot.
I don't think it's pressure put on the bands. I think the bands know they have to be on the road, and I think it's hard enough for everyone to get out there anyways. I mean, there's not exactly a ton of tours to be on. There's not a lot of spots open. There's not a ton of opportunity. There's live venues closing left and right. So for us, since the opportunities are there, we feel the pressure to say yes to just about everything. But I think it's really tough for bands to just get tours in general. So it's a weird kind of. I think it's a lot of bands putting pressure on themselves to get the tours, and whether they get them or not, that's depends on the band.
Have you ever had anything yet that hasn't necessarily been a good fit?
This tour hasn't been the best fit. I mean, there's been a lot of markets where we're getting a lot of blank stares, and it's a lot of hardcore Buck Cherry fans that have been around for 10 years, 15 years.
That's odd, though, because to me, I can hear it kind of merging pretty well.
I don't think
it's just.
I don't think it's a lack of the music matching. I think it's more of a
look. We don't look like we're from LA.
And I think it's more so it doesn't matter who is in front of them. They're there to see Crazy Bitch, and they will not be satisfied by anything else. And it puts us in the situation where we just try and do our best, and some nights it works and some nights it doesn't, and we just have to keep going, like last night worked really well. We played in Hartford, Connecticut last night, and the crowd responded well, and we did pretty good merch. We had a lot of good reactions, but there's been other nights where we just play to a bunch of blank stares, and you feel like it was a waste of time, and it's just the nature of the business, really. I mean, there's nothing you can do other than just keep at it.
So, I mean, personally, I look at music as a universal language that we can all speak and understand, and I hate when artists have to feel boxed into one particular genre or another. Is there anything in particular you hope your music might say to people? Not like a real heavy message, but, maybe the emotion that it would invoke.
We just want positivity.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
supposed to be fun.
positive.
It's just rock and roll music. We're just trying to give people a good time. The band was started under that kind of premise for ourselves, just for ourselves, and only for ourselves in the beginning, and it kind of spread quickly just because of the kind of focused effort to make it fun. And I think it gave us a lot of momentum early on as far as getting the band name out there and getting people involved with, promoting, and it's kind of kept us going, and it's something that we just try to remain, focused on.
Yep.
So, can you guys talk a little bit, I know it's been a while since the album's been out, but even looking back on the recording process, can you maybe pick one or two songs in particular and tell me what the mindset was like when you were creating in the studio?
One comes to mind particularly for me was just For the Sun. It's like the slower blues song on the record. It's like 8 minutes long. It was something that we really toiled over for a long period of time live before I think we got to the point where we felt comfortable to go into the studio with it. And then even then once we were in the studio, for me personally, I spent almost 2 or 3 straight days just working on the guitar leads to make sure that it came out in a way that I was happy with, which can sometimes be difficult for me to get to that point with it. I don't know if there's any other song that you can think of.
I thought it was kind of the same the whole time. Like, it was kind of a similar mood through the whole record, and I think when you listen to it, you kind of get that feeling. Because tonally, it doesn't really jump around a lot. I mean, dynamically it moves, but I don't think tonally it's much. I think the whole mindset of the whole record was quite similar, and that was, let's get this done and make it good. And that was it. It's plain and simple.
It was really cool because we felt like we really did a great job with the album, and I think we got a lot of positive response for it. It's been nominated for a Rock Album of the Year in Canada, the Junos, and
right.
We're on our 3rd radio single in Canada with it, and it's done really well. With that being said, I think we still left room to improve and make going back to what he just said, there's definitely room to make a more diverse palette as far as tones on the record. We've left room for a little more expansion with the actual songwriting process, and it's kind of cool that we've had so much success with the first record, but there's still so much to build on.
So are there any type of sounds or that you would like to experiment with that you haven't had a chance to explore yet?
I think just the tape, live to tape, which is something that we wanted to try and do, but we didn't have the means to do it properly. We weren't given the ability to have the amount of time or the money or the amount of tape that you need to really record long enough to get those magic takes that really kind of translate that live sound to the record, which is something that we try to do. We did it in kind of a different way with Furiosity, where we overdid overdubbing in an attempt to make up for the fact that you're not feeling it live. It's not hitting you. You're not witnessing it. So we kind of we added in more guitars or bigger drums, and it would be better to maybe attempt to try and capture the essence of the live performance of everyone playing together in order to capture that live or compensate for the fact that you're not seeing it, as opposed to tracking like we did, which was on top of. I
know, I love that. I think that it would be really cool. I love that it's almost like that perfectly imperfect sound that gets sometimes. It's just awesome.
We did that with the tracking too, where we were leaving mistakes in or leaving things that weren't perfect,
right, exactly.
Or telling the people who were engineering and editing the record not to edit that mistake,
right,
or not over edit, or not to fix everything, and if we had a blatant error, we'd punch it in or patch it up. But if there was stuff that wasn't, I remember telling our one engineer, he was sitting there fixing a clapping section that was a gang clap, and he went through a few different phases of fixing, like tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening, and then by the time he was done, it was a flawless clap track. And I listened to it and I was like, that sounds like shit. I was like, go back one, and he went back one, and it was a little more party, a little more off the rails, and then by the time I went back I went back to the original where everything was completely untouched, and it was just people. It sounded like a bunch of drunken people just clapping. There's claps in the middle between claps. There was this general unison feel, but for the most part, it was just sounded like a bunch of rowdy people. I was like, that's perfect. Like that's what the part is supposed to sound like. It's not supposed to be right. It's not supposed to be tight. It's supposed to be loose, and it's supposed to have a fun kind of drunken feel to it, and that, you know, he was cringing letting that go, and I think if you look back at it now and you listen to it, it was the exact right move.
It's almost like he had the producers tag on, and I think that's hard sometimes for them to step out into the artist, like, you know what I mean?
Well, that's part of the reason that the record went well, is because you do have that kind of rapport where we can fight with him on stuff.
That's good.
And we're not gonna harbor resentment afterwards. It's gonna be a fun battle that once we make the decision and move on from, it's forgotten, and we can concentrate on what's next, as opposed to looking back on who was right on the last debate, you know. So it was a fun experience, which helped make the record better.
So for each one of you personally, do you have a pivotal music moment that occurred in your life that made you decide that you had to pursue it for a career?
No.
Yeah, I'd say no.
I just always did it, and then when people started becoming financially feasible to not work a job, you just stop working. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it hasn't really changed my perspective on songwriting or how much fun I'm having. It's a job and it's awesome. I don't care.
There was a no moment for me. There was, in fact, if anything, there was a moment where I wanted to quit, and I tried to quit, and I got pulled back in by this band, where it was like, and originally this band was to be not successful and not in the industry and not touring and not taking itself seriously, and that was my decision for me personally, was like, fuck the music industry, fuck record labels, fuck promoters, fuck everything. I just want to play in a band that I love and do it the way that we want to do it. And then because of that, it got successful. And so it's a complete opposite of that.
Well, I mean, that's gotta feel good for you guys, though, that you did do it your way.
I always have.
You know.
Yeah.
Every band I've always been has been what I wanted, so I guess I'm lucky. I don't know.
Well, it's a testament to you sticking to your guns on what you loved. I got pulled into other shit that I didn't like, not even realizing I didn't like it, because I was more hell-bent on staying on the road and being in a band that was, you know, doing well, and because of that we did awful. And it was more about what can we do to further our career, as opposed to what songs can we write that we love. And it was just, it turned into a bastardization of itself, where I found myself being like, I wouldn't listen to this. I was just looking at the music, and like, we just finished a record, and I was listening back to it, and I was like, we did what we wanted, or you know, our lead singer or other members did what they wanted, and I was like, I would not listen to this record. Like, I knew I wouldn't have. Get hit on the head, come out of a coma, and forgotten that I was even on the record, and listen to it and be like, I don't want to listen to this. And I was like, that was a moment for me. That was like the same moment where I was like, I just don't want to be a part of any of this anymore. And it was in this band.
How do you guys feel about the uprise of social media? Has that been a tool for you guys at all, as far as, you know, promoting the band and everything, or do you feel like some of the shroud of mystery has been lifted
I think it's ruining the promotion of bands, because no one talks about bands anymore.
Well, that's not entirely true. We get a lot of word. Well, we get a lot of word of mouth. I mean, we still our number, like social media, whatever. Like I mean, it's a means to an end. We use it because we have to. We still get a lot of people that find out about the band just from word of mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's word of mouth on Twitter, someone telling someone about Twitter and you know, tweeting at them directly, or it's actually people talking like human beings talk to each other in real life. That happens still, and we still find out that that's how people found out about the band, or they passed a CD along or whatever.
I think tape trading back in the day was the best, because people would sell 100,000 copies of a 3-song demo. And that won't happen now, because you'll get that 3 songs, and 900 million bands can record albums now and put them online, and like, you have to wade through a lot of crap to get to good stuff. Whereas before, the only bands that got to do it were the bands that had someone financially backing them because they believed them. And that's besides the point.
Yeah, that's a whole other problem altogether.
But I think social media assists in just general complacency in people. And I think it's really weird. And
I think it's made everyone feel like they should be in a band because they can be a rock star.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem with it.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I mean, it's very, very oversaturated. And I know, even coming from a journalistic standpoint, I mean, our inbox is like any day, like full with I mean, we couldn't wade through it all in a day if we try. I mean, it's just whatever seems to be enticing at the moment, and it's hard because a lot of bands will get pushed by the wayside that are truly, truly talented. But it's just,
Well, it's just totally different now. I mean, everything is fully reliant on digital rather than the way it used to be, which is far more organic and far more interactive, I think, and more socially healthy.
Yeah.
Talking to people, meeting people in bars because you have
sure.
similar music tastes and things like that.
That's for sure. It just it encouraged more healthy social interaction.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you guys would pinpoint that would be, maybe the most misunderstood thing about Monster Truck?
People think we're a joke, and we kind of are, but we're trying to write real music and just not taking ourselves seriously. I mean, I think the other thing is probably that we're rednecks because it is Monster Truck, and that's not true either. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask if the name, ever led to any type of confusion with that.
Yeah, it held us back for a little while in Canada, where we were probably missing out on certain media opportunities and stuff, where people didn't totally believe that they would just hear the band name and they would imagine that it wasn't serious just because of the band name, when really the songwriting process and our drive to write good music is completely separate from the fact that we don't take ourselves too seriously, and the band name is kind of a joke, and everything else is around the band is meant to be fun and kind of just there's lack of taking it too seriously. But at the end of the day, the one thing we do take seriously is writing the music. So it's this weird contradiction we've kind of created that, at the end of the day, you either get it or you don't. And, we've kind of pushed our way into the forefront of mainstream rock in Canada based on the fact that we haven't gone away. And, we did win Breakthrough Group of the Year, the Junos.